Been some talk of me having psychopathic tendencies. I don't have psychopathic tendencies at all, but we live in a society governed by other people's rules, other people who commit murder and genocide and execution in various parts of the world. I wouldn't do anything that I'm not comfortable with, and I certainly wouldn't want to go to prison. On the subject of McLinden, here's a list, and there's no justification that his Maori father deserted them and left him with black corneas, a sign of the devil. But I've gone from being a millionaire with a happy family, a perfect home, and nothing to nothing, all down to McLinden's heartless, ruthless plundering of his clients' lives. This is what he does repeatedly. So every day, as his client, for more than a year, he would telephone me, billing me £42 extra. Every time I'd tell him I don't want to hear him, I don't want to hear, he had nothing to say, and he'd round that up to £50 plus VAT. Typically, he'd say, I've sent you an email. £50 to phone me up in less than 30 seconds, tell me he sent me an email. He'd do that every day. Other days, he'd say, as trustee, you might lose everything, some £10 million, just a threat, so that he could charge me a measly £50 by his standards. That's how he counted his gold coins. Every day I tried to tell him not to call, and I wouldn't pay his fees for those phone calls. At the 11th hour, McLinden reveals that any estate challenge legal costs are paid by the estate, not the trying it on con man who I'm litigating against. So had he told me this in the first place, when I simply went to him to calculate what I could privately buy out some criminal chancer, he told me, this guy's a criminal, you have to fight, you will win, you have money. He didn't say I'd pay all the legal costs. You don't fight when you pay for the costs on both sides. Acting as a direct DPA barrister, which is illegal, he had to charge me a pigeonhole solicitor's fee to make it legal, £6,000. To this buffoon, John Cabot, who wrote nothing more than a description of his difficult day dealing with his laser printer. This was how on earth he got a law degree in New Zealand, actually. One cannot imagine. McLinden refused to give legal advice about Talata, which would have resolved my litigation in my favour at negligible cost. He allowed the other side 6 months to accept private settlement in order to increase his fees. He turned my son against me in order to create further litigation and increase his fees. He turned my partner against me to create further litigation and increase his fees. He undermined, stop me when you want to deal with McLinden. He undermined my position to secure property without inspection because McLinden was impotent. All McLinden's clients want to kill him. He left New Zealand because they shot him. He lives off the King's Road behind fence bars and travels even 25 yards by taxi to avoid assassination. He has no friends at all. Nothing. Zilch. But that doesn't make him feel any better. It doesn't make, me feel any better. He used to holiday in Hawaii. This is what rich people do. And he'd pay £1,000, he told me this quite proudly, for bareback sex, eventually leading to conception and marriage to a very nice Japanese lady. McLinden invited me to Sunday lunch chicken once, serving £1,000 bottle of wine that he'd taken off a client who had also refused to pay. During lunch, his wife called him a judge, but not a sexy man. She said that I was a sexy man. McLinden, annoyed, he closed proceedings, told Momo that she was tired and that we all had to leave. Whilst he was in the kitchen, Momo took off her knickers and feigning faintness pulled me onto the sofa, kissed me, and then tried to have sex with me. I politely declined because I hadn't at that point completely realised what a scoundrel and a piece of dearth McLinden was. Otherwise, I would have just to piss him off. McLinden charged me £27,500. This is after taking £480,000 off me for the litigation to protect my brother's estate. He then took £27,500 off me in the first month's payment for a draft letter that was never sent to my partner. I refused to pay. He sued me for £35,000, filing bankruptcy twice, which is illegal. The judge didn't believe me. You can only file for bankruptcy once. Bankruptcy threatening assets I owned of £10 million. I had to back down and pay him his £35,000. The judge declared that he'd help me at the final hearing. He was disgusted with McLinden. But being a QC, he swapped out the judge for one in his favour, who didn't ask for anything, just stated an order that McLinden had written against me without even opening up the hearing. McLinden then spoke for 40 minutes. Rubbish, I thought. But later he declared those words as the judge's words. He signed as a QC that those words were the judge's words, made me pay for the transcript, and all that 40-minute speech covered up his tracks legally. This is a man who has no respect for the British justice system and uses it for his own evil gains. Have you stopped me yet? When we were working, McLinden would take me to private drinking clubs in the centre of London. I always had to pay, where he'd go off with Russian moles for sex. Then he used to point out all the Russian mobsters, saying that they were all looking for lawyers, but that he would never represent them because they'd end up shooting him. Sure, I should have paid more attention to those words in that time. Other cases McLinden's worked on: Irina Wilson, who was killed by a falling tree in Kew Gardens. She was awarded £1 million compensation. McLinden's fee was also £1 million. Gino Ventura won £65,000 online gambling. Betfred, I think it was, refused to pay. McLinden acted for him, told him not to say a thing. He lost his case. How? McLinden had to leave New Zealand because several clients tried to shoot him. He chose not to go to America because they also have guns there. He massively overcharged a Chinese part-time teacher for a simple business purchase that she had mistakenly got screwed on the contract. He then went on, as he always does, he checks all his clients' assets before he takes them on, and he checks their ethical stance, hence not engaging Russian mobsters. He took this Chinese teacher's house, her mother's house, and her ex-husband's house, all under the watchful eyes of the UK justice system. He overcharged two brothers who he said were stupid enough to fight over their business, and he took control and ownership of the third floor at the London's Gherkin for their refusal to pay. He took $650,000 off Nikki, her house in Hampstead Heath. And the Black Widow, my favourite, she was found guilty of plotting to murder her millionaire English husband, Barry Pring. McLinden got her off charges on a technicality. She was still found guilty, but on some weird technicality, she was allowed to be out of prison, and she couldn't go to prison because of... I can't even understand it. No one can understand it, really. But this is someone who is found guilty. He charged her £2 million in fees. Who's stopped me?